Hi everyone, welcome. This is the part 3 of our 3-part series on notes and blending. So we did top notes, we did middle notes, and now we're doing base notes. So thank you so much for joining our part 3 series. Um, Let us know too if this is have you joined all 3 of them? Or if this is your first class that you're joining with us. We love to see both of those. So gold star if you made it to all of our part 3 series, if this is your third class of the 3. You're going to be super experts at blending and on all things top, middle, and base notes. So speaking of that, if you didn't get a chance to watch all of the classes, we have them all for free on our YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to Oracacia. Just type in Oracacia YouTube into Google or just Oracacia into the YouTube website. And all of our videos should pop up. So our previous 2-part series on top notes and middle notes are on there currently. And so you can go back and watch them if this is your first class that you're watching or your second class and you missed the first one, you can definitely go back and watch all of them so you can all be experts. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We're super excited. As you can see, I have a ton of essential oils in front of me. These are all base note oils. So you can tell I might be a fan of base note oils. But we're going to learn all about base notes tonight. But let's see, just to start out, we're going to review our last 2 just quickly so you can get a better understanding as we dive into base notes tonight. So our first class was all on top notes. So our top notes of our oil are our very refreshing and invigorating oils. Those are typically our citruses like lemon, sweet orange, grapefruit, which I love putting in all of my blends, and a lot of our mints. So the very refreshing and invigorating mint oils, especially peppermint, and other ones that are considered like eucalyptus. So those very refreshing, invigorating ones, usually good for breath work and just helping you breathe deep. So these ones also are great for that too, but in a very different way. And then we have our middle notes. So our middle notes are typically our spices and our florals, and they're considered the heart of the aroma. So if you are making a blend with top notes, middle notes, and base notes, the main part of the blend is going to be your middle notes. And that's really what shines in an aroma blend. And that's why a lot of perfumes, when perfumes are made, it's usually very flowery. If you go more on that feminine side, or if you go towards that masculine side, it's very spicy. And that is really what shines in an aroma blend. But you really need those top notes to get that refreshing aroma, and then you need those base notes as well. And we'll talk about why. But those are the top notes. You'll notice those right away in an aroma blend. They typically last maybe 20 minutes. And then they just kind of evaporate, they disappear. So they're very volatile. They evaporate very quickly. And the middle notes, they can last a little bit longer in an aroma, sometimes up to a couple hours. But what's really important is our base notes. They are really what helps to make an aroma blend last longer because they are our heaviest oils. They're the least volatile. So they evaporate very slowly. And actually, you might not even smell them if you're smelling a blend that has all 3. You might not even notice the base notes right away. It might have to sit on your skin if you're spraying a perfume, or just smelling it after a while will help to bring out those base notes longer. But those are super important when we're making a blend. And when we talk about the volatility of an oil, that brings us back to the chemicals found in essential oils. So, essential oils are plant chemicals and they interact with us both on a physical and psychological level and do many wonderful things for us. But we do have to be mindful that they are real plant chemicals that we're interacting with. They're very concentrated. So a little goes a long way with essential oils. That's why we always talk about safe usage when it comes to essential oils. When we're putting them on our skin, we always want to be diluting them, even if it's something as gentle as lavender, which you can use on occasion. But we always really recommend diluting it in a skincare oil because that really helps it to last longer on your skin, but it slows the absorption into your skin as well. Diffusion is a wonderful way to use essential oils, one of the easiest ways. And you're diluting it in water that way, making a spray. Also, you're kind of diluting it and dispersing it throughout the air. And we definitely don't recommend the ingestion of essential oils. That did pop up on if you saw one of the social posts. I'm not sure if there was confusion over that, but we really are talking about when we're making essential oil blends for both topical use or for aromatic for in our space. That's what essential oils are meant for. Essential oils are just way too concentrated when used internally. It's not safe because of the concentration level of those chemicals. So typically peppermint, 1 drop of peppermint is equivalent to 75 cups of peppermint tea in just one single drop, as concentrated as that. So not everybody realizes how concentrated essential oils are, and sometimes they get misused or overused. And so we definitely want to stress that we've always believed in safe usage of essential oils because they do so many wonderful things when used in the right way. It's just all about a tool. You know, I think I heard it being referred to, as using a tool, like misusing a tool, like your kitchen knives. Kitchen knives do so many wonderful things to cut up your fresh vegetables and your garlic and make delicious food for you when used properly. But when misused, it can cut you, it can do a lot of damage. So that's kind of an analogy when it comes to essential oils. It can be misused, it can be overused, and then becomes unsafe. But with perfume making, diffusion, and airspace, and used topically diluted on our skin, they do many wonderful things. So I just wanted to make a note of that in case there was some confusion there. But let's talk about our base note oils. Okay, so I want you to try, if you have at home a base note oil that's one of your favorites, I'm going to actually do a couple examples. And what I talked about with the base note, how you don't always notice it right away in a blend, even just alone, it changes the aroma when you let it sit out a little bit. So I'm going to do frankincense and I'm going to do patchouli. So those are two of my favorite base note oils. And if you just take a piece of paper, this is a scent strip, if you have those at home, but a piece of notebook paper or a piece of junk mail, even, you can take that and put a couple drops on a piece of paper. And so this one is my frankincense, and I'm going to smell that right away. And you just kind of waft it under your nose. You can kind of close your eyes and breathe it in and kind of notice what comes out in that aroma. So essential oils, because of those chemicals, I know in our first series, I definitely talked a lot about the chemical properties of essential oils, and we really talked about the GCMS test. So the gas chromatography is kind of the gold standard when it comes to essential oil testing. We actually have a whole page dedicated to all of our published tests of our essential oils. So if Betsy wants to throw that page up there so you can look at all our GCMS tests. But that's how you see it's actually a timeline of the volatile constituents or those chemicals coming out over the period of an hour. And so you can see the top note oils, they come out right away. Those chemicals are, they right in the first, few minutes, you can see that spike. And the base note oils, they might have a few top note constituents, which frankincense actually does. And you'll notice if you start to detect the different chemicals in there, then you become a super expert, but that takes some time. But I noticed some of that alpha pinene, which is in a lot of tree oils, and frankincense comes from the boswellia tree. And so you notice some of that pinene come out, and that's that refreshing aroma. But I'm going to let it sit over class, and we're going to also smell it at the end of class. So if you don't have a base note oil with you, that's okay. But I definitely encourage you to try this little experiment at some point and just see what you notice and see how an essential oil can change over the period of 30 minutes to an hour. So I'm also going to do patchouli, which is definitely a polarizer. So you either love it or you hate it. I love patchouli, but we know, is there any other patchouli lovers out there? Or maybe there's some patchouli haters, that's okay. We don't have to love all of the essential oils. But the reason why, especially base oils, can be a polarizer, specifically like patchouli, is because it hangs around. And that is really what a base note does. It's a very heavy oil. So those molecules are actually a lot more stable and they're heavy. So they don't evaporate as easily. So patchouli, you'll notice some of those top note oils, but really patchouli shines when you leave it out for a little bit. So I can't wait to smell it then. And maybe you don't love patchouli when you first smell it, but let it sit out a little bit and it kind of like settles a little bit, and maybe you'll end up loving patchouli. So maybe you just haven't used it in the right way or with a specific blend, because it also blends really well with a lot of other oils where it then kind of settles out again and the other essential oils shine a little bit more and just blends in so that it's not just patchouli heavy. All right, so we'll leave those sitting for a little bit. But yeah, so when I talk about the heaviness of the base note oils, it is considered, so base notes are also called fixatives. And the reason for that terminology is because it really helps the other essential oils that are more volatile, like our top notes and our middle notes, to actually fix to our base notes. They're kind of like sticky, and they actually help to keep those top notes and middle notes lasting longer when blended together. And so, they really are important when we're using oils, both in perfume blends. So you really want that long lasting aroma when you're wearing a perfume. And we don't want synthetics to help us last longer because that's not so great for us. But using essential oils, unfortunately, some of them disappear quickly, so you have to keep reapplying. But when you're using enough of a base oil in an aroma, then you don't have to reapply as often, which is great. So definitely find an aroma that you prefer. Maybe you don't like the heavy woodsy oils. We have other ones that you might be surprised actually that are base note oils or considered because it has a lot of those base note chemicals. to help fix or to help keep an essential oil blend more stick around longer. And that's also important when we're making things like bug sprays. So in a very functional blend like a bug spray, you want the bug spray to be lasting longer when you're going outside and hanging out on the patio in the summer. You don't want to have to keep reapplying your citronella every 2 seconds. If you put in something like cedarwood into your blend, or even patchouli, that's going to help last a lot longer because the base note oils actually, I talked about how they sometimes you don't notice them right away. It sometimes can take hours for them to even appear, but they can last for hours and even days. So if you've ever put patchouli in your diffuser, you now have a patchouli diffuser. So that's the funny thing about patchouli is sometimes it lasts maybe too long for certain people, but it also does so great when we're talking about a very functional use. When we really want it, patchouli is great for deodorants. So you want your deodorant to last longer. You want your bug spray to last longer. Definitely try out some patchouli. So I'm a patchouli pusher if you can't tell. um, but yeah, so that is a little bit more on kind of why base notes are those heavier oils and why we really need them in a blend themselves. Um, so some of the aroma properties in general, whoops, using my hands. So some of the aroma properties of those base note oils are that they are very grounding. They can sometimes be pretty intense, which we talked about because they're very long lasting. Sometimes they can feel a little heavy or intense aromatically because a lot of them are the woodsy oils. And they do actually have a lot of complex constituents in there. So sometimes, some essential oils might only have a couple essential oil constituents, but a lot of these are very complex. And so a lot comes out in the aroma. And that's why it's so great to do an aroma nose test and leave those base note oils out so you can kind of detect more of those chemicals coming out. So let's go back to the aroma properties. So in terms of just general use of those base note oils, they tend to be very calming and relaxing. So very grounding oils. And when we look at the plant parts, a lot of our plant parts kind of show us that they're very grounding. They're earthy oils. They come from the earth, which all of our plants do, but they're their root oils, there are tree oils. So those ones are just very rooted to the ground, literally. And so it really helps us kind of determine that they can be very helpful for grounding us, which is perfect for this time of year. We really need to be, we're getting back into the school year and our regular routines of our fall and winter, and especially the hectic part of the holidays. These are such necessary oils. They can be very comforting and warming oils that are long lasting, that we might need to get us through a long winter ahead. So there's many great reasons why you want to add your base note oils in. But it's perfect for this time of year, especially as we're getting into the fall and winter. So again, those plant parts, let's go through a few of them. So I'm going to start out with our root oils. So our root grounding base note oils are turmeric. We have vetiver, which is one of my favorite oils. Again, another polarizer. And then we have ginger. So all of those come from the roots of plants or the rhizomes. Vetiver especially is one of those really grounding oils. It's a very and vetiver tends to be a little sticky. So that one, it just really smells super earthy. For me, I just absolutely love vetiver, the aroma. So I'm very drawn to vetiver. And it really is helpful, especially for the school year. In our kids' focus blend, we actually use vetiver because it's been shown in studies to be helpful with focus. And so, especially the study was specifically done on adolescent boys with ADHD, and it showed much improved focus time and attention when vetiver was used. So this can be helpful. Vetiver can be really helpful for us all when we need that focus time, whether we have long meetings, back to school, any of that. You just need to ground yourself and focus. Great for meditation as well. So vetiver is one of those great root oils. And then turmeric and ginger. Turmeric isn't used as much, but really helpful for skincare. That's the great thing about these base note oils too. A lot of them can be really great for skincare use. Again, we want to be diluting it. But you really notice, ooh, that one is, it smells like turmeric. So you want to be careful because it does have a little bit of color to it too, but I definitely encourage you to try some of those root oils. And then we have our tree oils, which are some of the more popular um, base note oils. So we have our Texas cedarwood, which we are actually going to use in a recipe tonight at the end of class. So get your Texas cedarwood out. Texas cedarwood, also known as red cedar. So if you've, seen that both, but I lived in Texas for a few years, and that is that strong cedar smell. And if anybody, unfortunately, a lot of people have cedar allergies. So when the time that it's pollinating between January and March, it's that early spring in Texas. A lot of people are sneezing due to the cedarwood trees. So, but it's a wonderful oil that is great in a perfume that we're using tonight. And then we have sandalwood. So sandalwood is a very popular oil. It's been for many years. Sandalwood is such a unique plant. I love to talk about sandalwood. It's actually it's considered a, let's see, what is that called? Now I'm blanking on that, but it's a plant that actually needs a host to grow. So you can't just throw some sandalwood seeds and grow a bunch of sandalwood trees. It actually, it's a parasitic plant. So that's what that's considered. And so it needs a host. And so it has to be grown really carefully and sustainably. And unfortunately, in India, there's a version of Indian sandalwood. The species is the Santalum album, which we actually have now, which we're super excited. But unfortunately, that Indian sandalwood got over harvested in India. And so we really are careful about sustainability when it comes to our plants at Oricacia. And so we only grow and source from sustainable sources. So we have this beautiful sourcing with our supplier in Australia. So our Australian sandalwood, which is the Santalum spiccatum. So that's that, very well-known species grown in Australia. And then in the last few years, we actually took the Indian sandalwood species, and our supplier is now growing it sustainably in Australia as well, which is pretty much one of the only sustainable sources of sandalwood in the world at this point. So that is the beautiful thing about that, is finding that sustainable source. And then you get to smell that just rich, grounding aroma of Indian sandalwood. It's just beautiful. It's a little bit more subtle than your typical sandalwood. I love this species specifically. So if you didn't know, we have that. And we have that in the diluted in jojoba, which is also nice because sandalwood, due to the nature of sandalwood, that it needs that host plant, so it needs to be grown very sustainably. And it takes about 7 years before the sandalwood tree actually starts producing essential oil. So it takes many, many years. And that's why sandalwood can be one of those more expensive ones. So to make it less expensive or a little bit more affordable for people, we have a line of ready to use oils, which is great. You can use them right out of the bottle. You don't have to worry about diluting them because they have that carrier oil, jojoba, in that line. So it's only that yellow label is the only one that has jojoba in there, and it's pre-diluted, but it makes it, it makes everyone able to afford sandalwood a lot easier, which is nice, especially, as we're being more careful with how we're spending and during inflation and all of that. So that's a great thing about our tree oils. And then we have our resin oils, which are also some of my favorites, very popular during the holiday season. So frankincense and myrrh, which we actually came out with a mist. So that's a newer product for us, that we have a frankincense and myrrh spray. So that's a great thing to keep around the holidays. You can spray that around before you have guests come over for parties. And then you can also diffuse your frankincense and myrrh, of course, in your diffuser. Copaiba is our other resin oil. So the resin is found inside the tree. It's like the sap of the tree. And then the resin, especially with frankincense, it gets dried into these like little pellets called tears. So frankincense tears, if you've ever seen that. And then we actually steam distill those frankincense tears, and that's how you get that beautiful frankincense oil. And so frankincense also, and myrrh and copaiba. Well, copaiba is actually more of like a refreshing resin oil. I would say frankincense and myrrh is more of those grounding oils, especially. So again, great for meditation, for nighttime routines, and skincare. So I actually will, every time around this year, I start to make a big batch of body butter to last me all winter long so that I can keep my skin hydrated. But frankincense and myrrh really helps, again, to be that fixative, that base note property, to work with the carrier oils and help soothe the skin and just really protect it and nourish it all winter long. So I definitely recommend a frankincense and myrrh body butter in the winter time. Okay, and then we have our either loved patchouli or not loved patchouli based off of your preference. But patchouli is actually a leaf oil, which is also kind of unique when it comes to our base note oils. So leaf oils typically are more top notes or middle notes. So you can see like rosemary, eucalyptus, peppermint. Those are very refreshing, awakening leaf oils. But patchouli is a unique leaf oil in that it is very grounding, heavy leaf oil. So that one, which we'll be smelling soon, that we kept out, is wonderful for, I talked about deodorants. It's great for bug sprays. It's great for, again, skin soothers. So if you do happen to enjoy the aroma of patchouli, wonderful for topical use as well. So those are some great, oops, sorry, I had something pop up. All right. Yeah, so some great uses for patchouli there too. And then a couple other kind of unique ones that we'll talk about just to end the different plant parts and base notes. So jasmine is a floral oil that we typically think all of our florals are in our middle notes. But jasmine actually has, when you look again at the GCMS test, it has a few of those base note constituents, those little spikes down later on that chart. And it, again, so jasmine is one of those more intense florals. It's kind of that heavier smelling floral. And I love jasmine. So if you mix jasmine into your perfume, if you don't want one of those heavier woodsy ones, if you want maybe like a lighter base note, technically, or a more floral base note, jasmine is a great use for that and can help your florals hang around longer. And then also one of my favorite base notes, I always talk about one of my favorite oils is vanilla. So vanilla is a very sweet, warm, kind of, just comforting aroma. And again, one of those kind of lighter smelling aromas versus that heavy, earthy, woodsy aroma. So vanilla, again, comes from the orchid plant in Madagascar. And it comes from those vanilla pods. So you actually can scoop out the little seeds or the inside of the pod. And then we actually CO2 extract that because it's a little bit harder to steam distill the vanilla. So that gets, it's through a CO2 extraction. So it's a cold extraction too. And it brings out those beautiful vanilla notes that just make you want to like bake some vanilla cookies or eat some vanilla ice cream. Super comforting. So that is also one of my favorites. So if you're not a fan of a lot of those heavy earthy base notes, but you want your blend to last longer, so sweet orange and vanilla together makes this beautiful creamsicle aroma. And then the vanilla can actually help that sweet orange last longer if you're using it topically on your skin or however you want to use it. Another kind of seed oil considered is clove bud. So it's the clove bud itself, which we focus on distilling itself because in the clove bud specifically, eugenol acetate is kind of the main component of clove bud. So that eugenol acetate shows up a lot later on that GCMS test. And it's one of those that are very soothing. So it's that warming property of clove. So if you're using clove, maybe in a muscle formula, so I put peppermint and clove bud together and it's kind of like an icy hot experience. So that peppermint has that menthol, which is very cooling to the touch. Clove bud has the eugenol acetate, which is actually warming to the touch. And so that can be like an icy hot experience, which is really great for muscle care. And so that spicy note oil, and it smells spicy, and it's beautiful to diffuse during the holiday season. That's another great one. If again, you don't want to use that earthiness, but you want some of that base note oil and you're putting together a spice blend. So perfect for fall. If you're doing like a pumpkin spice blend, we have a recipe for that diffusion. So if you want to add clove bud with cinnamon and nutmeg and ginger together, you're going to get a couple of those beautiful base notes, but that spiciness instead of that earthiness. So that's another great option. All right, so that is a lot of our base notes. So let's go ahead and make the recipe for tonight. Oh, and we have a question. How's that different from just clove essential oil? Great question. So some companies actually do distill clove oil from the whole plant part. We focus on the bud specifically because that's where that eugenol acetate comes into play. And that's really what people look for when it comes to clove oil. And especially people use clove oil, it's known for helping with toothache specifically. So that eugenol acetate is very soothing for toothaches. And it's only found in the clove bud. It's not found in any other plant part of the clove. So that's when we talk about quality and the difference of quality in other companies' oils versus our oils. When you see that it's a specific plant part, especially with clove bud, um, that is where the quality comes into play, because you can look at another bottle. If you turn it to the side, if you happen to be in store, you can pick it up, turn it to the side, and see that their clove oil is the plant parts distilled, stems, leaves, and buds. So they're getting a lot less of that eugenol acetate, which is that soothing, warming oil property of clove. And so there is those differences. It's very subtle. You have to look for it. But clove bud is really it's the premium version of clove when that's considered, because that is where that property comes in. That's what's going to help soothe your muscles and your toothaches, and really help with what you're looking for when you're using clove. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Yes. All right. So tonight we're making our vanilla and frankincense roll-on. So if Betsy can put that in the chat. So it's a perfume and it's all base notes that we're using. So this is a wonderful way to use base note oils in a perfume that's just going to help last all day long for you. And sometimes it's going to change a little bit as you're wearing it throughout the day, because those beautiful aromas, they'll start to evaporate, and then the base note oil constituents will help to come through a little bit longer. So I actually already put the carrier oil in there, which calls for grapeseed. If you don't have grapeseed, you can use jojoba oil, you can use almond oil, whatever carrier oil you have at home. You just want to fill it to about the top of the label for our Oracacia label. This is 0.31 ounces. So it's about a third of an ounce. You just want to be careful because that fills up pretty quickly. But you want to leave a little bit of room for those essential oil drops. Okay, so the first essential oil that we're adding is Texas cedarwood. So that's that beautiful cedarwood wood that reminds me of Texas. So just 2 drops of that, and you get that nice woodsy aroma, which brings in a little bit of that heavy, or that musky, woodsy perfume element. And it's a little bit, you can see it's a little bit of a thicker oil. It's that heavier oil. So a lot of the oils, they're going to come out a little bit slower with our base note oils too. You'll notice that. So you just have to be a little bit more patient. So 2 drops of Texas cedarwood came in first. Then we're going to get our vanilla, one of my favorites. So that just really adds a sweet aroma to this blend. So we're going to do 3 drops of that. All right, 3 drops of vanilla. And we're doing 2 drops of patchouli. So we know that aroma is going to last longer, but blended together, you might be surprised, pleasantly surprised, how well patchouli can blend together with other oils. And then we're doing 1 drop of myrrh, our resin oils, very grounding. Ooh, oh, and the cap came right off with that one. So you'll notice if you have myrrh sticking around for a little bit longer, myrrh is that resin oil, and it really loves to want to be a resin again. And so it's super thick. So sometimes it's helpful to just take that. We have all the built-in dropper caps on the top of our essential oil bottles. You might just want to take that dropper off the myrrh, because it is a little bit harder to pour because it is so resinous and thick. So we'll just do 1 drop of that, and that one is really thick. Whew. All right, so we're probably getting a little bit more myrrh in that blend, but that is just okay. And then our last essential oil that we're doing in our perfume tonight is 2 drops of frankincense essential oil. So you can see frankincense actually has quite a bit of those top note properties, which is why I love to test that one out, because you can see how the top notes will eventually evaporate and bring out those beautiful base note oils of frankincense after a while. But the frankincense pours out a lot quicker because of the top note chemicals in there. All right, so let's shake it all up, give it a good shake. And it's ideal, we can smell it right away to see what it smells like, but with perfumes too, and other blends. So if you're making a bug spray or anything, it's really great to shake it up thoroughly and then just let it sit. Whether you're making a perfume or muscle care, it's really best to let the oils just kind of all blend together and let them kind of, again, fix to the fixative base note oils. And then it just becomes this beautiful blend. So I definitely recommend to make your blends ahead of time and let them sit, especially in a cool, dark place. So just on a dark shelf or in a cabinet, just let them sit for maybe a week, sometimes a month, even if you want it super well blended. So let's give it a smell and see what it smells like. Oh, I love that. I love that aroma. You get the sweet smell of the vanilla. You get that little bit of woodsy aroma. That's my new favorite fall scent. New favorite fall scent for that perfume. So I definitely recommend trying out that recipe, picking up the oils if you don't already have those oils. So I hope you enjoyed the class tonight. So that's the 3-part series of our base notes and blending. Sorry, our blending and our notes. So top, middle, and base notes. So all about base notes tonight. And I think my pregnancy brain, I'm actually, so yeah, speaking of that, my pregnancy brain has definitely been kicking in, I've noticed lately. Um, so thank you for bearing with me when I have my moments. But speaking of that, actually, oops, sorry about that. We, for our upcoming classes, so we have Betsy next month in October. We're gonna we're gonna do some spooky fun recipes. So she always does an awesome Halloween class. It's one of her absolute favorites. You just are she's bursting off the screen with like her enthusiasm, and it's just super fun to join in and get involved in just some of the Halloween fun. So I definitely recommend attending that. That'll be Thursday, October 26th, again at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So I hope you can join us. Yeah, the pregnancy brain, yes. So it's happening. And then my last class before maternity leave is going to be in November. So that'll be all about gift making. So stay tuned for that. I did a little version of that last year. So if you weren't able to attend, definitely join in November or stay tuned for that. And then Betsy, again, she'll be taking over for a few months while I'm on maternity leave. And she will be doing a beautiful class on how essential oils can help get you through the holiday in keeping you, relaxed and keep your energy going through the holiday season, which sometimes is a little tougher to do. And then we have some fun classes that we have planned for the start of the new year. We're going to be doing an air care class. So all about just helping, you refresh. People get excited about, kind of decluttering your space and renewing your space. But we also want to kind of keep our space clean and refreshed. And so it's all about air care in January. So just some super fun classes that we have coming up. So again, if you've missed any of the previous ones, check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that so you can see the new videos that come out. But they're all free classes to sign up for live, and then you can be able to ask your questions live. We'd love to see all of your comments and joining with us. But if you missed it, it's always available on YouTube to check out at a later date, or go back and look and try out that recipe with me at a later time. So thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.